nice little slide presentation for you. There's going to be some bullet points, the main bullet points, but I'll kind of explain a little bit what those bullet points actually mean and how they can probably apply to you and where their value is. So we all want to have a well-oiled machine of a kitchen. That's the purpose, that's the point, that's what we want to try to get to. There's a few key things that are very important for the structure of a restaurant and how we as owners or managers or even employees tend to handle our day-to-day in the kitchen and on the line. My biggest and most important aspect of being in a kitchen, anybody can cook food, anybody can create recipes, anybody can do anything, but we have to stay organized. Staying organized in a kitchen is, in my personal opinion, the most important aspect of it. Not only do we have to stay clean, because that makes it so that's an easier work environment, but we also have to stay organized in how we're building and structuring, how we're opening, how we're closing, how we're building recipes. So here's some bullet points on that. We really need to create and consistently update order guides. The goal with this is that if you set up PARs and you set up what you need to be ordering, whether it's your produce order, your protein order, your bread order, wherever that's coming from, you need to have PARs on there. So if you're the only one ordering, what happens if you're sick? Somebody else will have to be able to step in. So keep those contacts on the form, keep your PARs there, and then anybody can step in and be able to place orders. Each station or person, depending on how your setup is, needs to be assigned opening duties and closing duties. These duties are important because once somebody really knows what they are, they're able to kind of do it without needing to look at the sheet, but it's a good guide, it's a good reference to make sure everything gets done, and it's a great tool for accountability. If, let's say, things aren't getting done by somebody, you can say, here's this form, here are these things, I need you to fill these out every day. I hope at some point we won't need to do this, but for now, at least, I need to see that you're actually going through this and you're reading this. Going back to stay clean, we have to assign cleaning responsibilities. So yes, we have opening cleaning, closing cleaning, cleaning during prep, staying clean while you're going, but you also have your different requirements for cleaning. You have to pull the shelving out of the walk-in cooler every once in a while and clean back there. You have to pull the equipment off the back of the line to clean every once in a while. Depending on your usage, depending on your needs, you're looking at least once a month, you should be pulling things apart and giving them a good scrub down. Prep guides are going to be really, really important for getting yourself together throughout your day. Yes, you can write a prep list, but we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all forget things. You need to have some sort of guide. You need to have everything and the PARs that they need to make per station or per breakfast shift or lunch shift or dinner shift, depending on how big of an operation that you have. All of your recipes should be standardized. I always keep a binder in the kitchen of all of our standardized recipes. The goal is that anybody in the kitchen can grab one of these recipes and be able to attack one of those prep list items that needs to get done. I don't know who has heard this term before, but mise en place is a French term for everything in its place. So that goes for setting up your line, setting up your station. I also use that at home. I use that for my office. I use that for my desk. Everything has its place. This way, especially in a kitchen on a line while you're busy, let's say you're in the weeds, I want to be able to work that station with my eyes closed. My arms, my body is moving towards that item, towards that need, whether it be a spoon for plating something or parsley to sprinkle over a dish at the end. I want to be able to do it with my eyes closed. And the last point for staying organized, communicate. We need to communicate with one another. As a chef, I always told everybody under me, hear about it more than once versus not at all. If there's a problem, if there's an issue, if this got put in this place, I want to hear it more than once versus not at all. So keep telling me, keep telling me. The next big one is to define your inventory. That's kind of a big one. You should definitely know your menu. And when you know your menu, you know what food and what products you have in there. You know what recipes are in there. You know what's required. You know what dishes off your menu are going to sell the most. You know that which ones you need to pay attention to. You know the cost of these things. You obviously, if you have a blooming onion, you're not going to put as much concern, care, and you're not going to count the onions, but you're definitely going to count those steaks, those porterhouse ribeyes. Know your inventory. So whenever I did ordering and I did inventory, I wanted to be able to touch everything. I like the ideas of if you're the one doing the ordering, you're also doing the one putting stuff away. You know what's in house. You know where it is. You can, if somebody asks for something, you can even tell them it's 2 steps into the walk-in cooler on the left-hand side, knee height behind this. You're able to just tell somebody that. Know what's going on in your kitchen. Know where everything is. You don't necessarily want to find yourself having 4 extra cases of veggie burgers in your freezer because somebody keeps jamming them in the back corner and nobody ever goes and looks back there. And then they just keep ordering, and now you have way too many and you have to find a way for that to go. With that being said, you have to keep those storage areas organized. Everything that you touch, everything that you see needs to be front-facing. One of the biggest pieces of advice I was given for walk-in coolers and dry storage and walk-in freezers: how does the grocery store present their products? That made it so that I was able to understand better on where stuff should be and how it should be facing so that we can all see it. And that's a big reason to have clear storage containers in your walk-in cooler. Everything comes out of a box, everything goes into your clear storage containers. That way, people are able to see things, you're able to have a little bit better understanding of your inventory, and everything just looks cleaner. Health inspector really loves that too, by the way. And last on this one, we need to make sure we take inventory. If you don't know what you have in-house at the end of the month, and you've been buying food and ordering food in, and you don't know what you have, you don't know if stuff's going missing, you don't know if there's a lot of waste. You don't know if people are making recipes incorrectly. You don't know if your deep fryer has gone on a fritz and now you're burning through more and more oil because it's not holding at the correct temperature. These are, without doing inventory, you don't know where you were at the end of the month last month, where you are at the end of the month this month, mixed in with everything that you've sold and everything that you've purchased and ordered in-house. Taking an inventory is one of the more challenging tasks, but it can be the one that has the most reward and value for you. We want to make sure that we prepare the environment. It's very important to have a kitchen that's functional. And that's functional in many ways, not just in where equipment is stored, but how it feels to work and cook in there. Sometimes kitchens can be dungeons, they can be tight, they can be constricted. We want to try to create an environment that's enjoyable to work in and to cook in. Preparing your environment is also really important to injuries and safety and stuff. But we'll go down the bullet point list here and I'll talk about each one. You want to know your facility. You want to know where everything is. Again, that's back to the organization aspect. You want to know where everything is stored. You want to know where everything is cooked. You want to know that this steak is done on this flat top versus done on the grill. You want to know where your dry storage is. You want to know where your walk-ins are. You want to know where your cold decks are. You want to know where everything is. Maybe not as an owner, but definitely as a manager and definitely as an employee. It's very important to have efficient and effective equipment placement. And what I mostly mean by that is if you have all of your mise en place, your ingredients for cooking, what they're being cooked on should be right behind you or right next to you. As a cook or an employee or a manager or anybody, you should not have to grab a product and then go and use it over here and then come back over here or bring it back over here. You want to be able to minimize the amount of steps. You want to be able to minimize the amount of movements that you make, that you take. Each step in a wrong direction tends to slow everything down, and time equals money, so you start to hold things up a little bit too much. You want to keep high traffic areas clean and clear. This is important because if you are busy, you have servers coming in and out, you have cooks coming in and out. You don't want servers or cooks having their break in those high traffic areas. You don't want a lot of clutter in those high traffic areas. Those are the places where as soon as it gets busy, people are going to need to get their drinks together, get their side sauces together. You have cooks who are probably going to need to finish a plate right there. You're going to have to hand stuff off. There's a lot going on right there. You need to keep those areas clean and clear so that as soon as it's needed, you have the space to be able to execute. We definitely need to, this is more of I'm planning my actions and my steps 2-3 steps in advance. I always try to not waste my movements, not waste my actions. That made me efficient. That made me have an understanding of my control when I'm busy. What are my 2 or 3 movements and actions out? That way I can be ready for the next task, and I have this timing down to be able to build and create and get everything together. You want to limit crossing of foot traffic. If you have multiple cooks on a line, you don't want them crisscrossing each other. If they keep crisscrossing each other, they're bound to hurt themselves, they're bound to drop food on the ground, they're prone to get into arguments because everybody keeps getting in everybody's ways. The goal is that no cook should ever have to cross each other. And if they have to, I like to call it the dance. Some cooks have it, some cooks don't. That does not mean that those cooks do not have value. It takes a special kind of person to be able to dance with another special kind of person. And let's not forget about safety. Injuries cost money. Injuries make staff not want to feel comfortable working in your space. So back to preparing your environment, you do not want really heavy sheet tray stack high up in the air on a shelf. You don't want heavy things high up. You want heavy things down below. You want lighter things on the top. Think safety in mind so that people are able to go and feel comfortable and safe working in your environment. Workman's comp costs money. Cooks or employees not being able to work costs money. Make sure that we are safe. That is one of the most important aspects. Listen to your employees. Good managers create good employees and people who care. People who care can be hard to create, but good managers and a healthy work environment makes people want to stay and work harder. Listen to your employees. Their experiences are every day. So if they have a concern, if they have a complaint, if they have an issue, they probably already have a solution. So ask them about that. They are there to work with you and for you. But make sure that you use discernment. Have some patience. It's not always going to be in the best interest of the business to listen to a certain aspect an employee has. Does not mean that they don't have value in what they're saying. That's still important. Utilize individual skill sets. Not every cook is the same. Some enjoy other aspects of cooking than others. Utilize that. Use that to your benefit. And allow your kitchen to become a classroom. We're all learning here every day. Every day in the kitchen, I learn something. Every day that I taught something, I learned something. Take your time with people, have some patience, teach them. And most importantly, we're trying to do this to optimize for profit. Minor improvements make for major streamlining. Not everything needs to be changed overnight. Take your time. Do little, small, minor adjustments to create the end game goal that you want. Every restaurant that I've opened up, it has been an accelerated learning curve, and everything flips around and everything changes. Without profit, you're limited. You can't purchase that new piece of equipment. You can't hire another cook. You can't. So without some degree of profit, what's the point? You can keep burning away money. Yes, you can be coming out even. But even if you're getting that 1% over time, you'll be able to make more smaller improvements. Wasted effort is wasted money. That's back to the movements and the planning things out and the crisscrossing of employees. Keep cost in check. Of course, you should know how much. You should know the menu cost on every single dish on your menu. You want to keep your margins there. As long as every dish has its margins, you have a recipe for success. You have a recipe for profitability. But your margins have to be there. You have to make money on every plate of food.